Everything begins in your mind. Everything. The way you feel, the way you act, the results you get, they all start with what's happening up here. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your most dangerous enemy. And the difference between the two comes down to one thing: control. Are you controlling your thoughts, or are they controlling you? Most people don't realize it, but their lives are being shaped by unconscious patterns they never chose. They react instead of respond. They dwell on fear instead of focusing on possibility. They repeat the same thoughts, the same stories, the same limiting beliefs over and over again until those patterns become their reality. They say things like, "I'm not good with money," or "I can't lose weight," or "I'll never find the right person." And guess what? They prove themselves right every single time, because your mind doesn't work based on what's true. It works based on what you tell it. So if you want to change your life, you've got to start by rewiring your mind. You've got to take control of your thoughts. The same way an athlete trains their body consistently, intentionally, and with intensity, one of the most powerful ways to do that is to shift your focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel. If you constantly focus on what's missing, what's wrong, what's not working, your brain will find more of it. It's like a magnifying glass. Whatever you put it over gets bigger. But if you train yourself to focus on solutions, on what's possible, on what you can do instead of what you can't, your whole perspective shifts. Suddenly, the problem isn't as big as you thought. Suddenly, you see opportunities you never noticed before. And listen, this isn't just feel-good advice. This is neuroscience. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It's like a filter that determines what information gets through to your conscious mind. Right now, there are millions of bits of information coming at you: sounds, colors, conversations, memories. But your RAS decides what's important. And what does it base that decision on? Whatever you consistently focus on. Ever notice how when you buy a new car, you start seeing that car everywhere? That's your RAS in action. It's not that more of those cars suddenly appeared, it's that your brain is now tuned to notice them. The same thing happens with your thoughts. If you're constantly focused on problems, your brain will find more problems. If you train yourself to focus on opportunities, guess what you'll start seeing? This is why the most successful people don't just have different habits, they have different thought patterns. They've trained their minds to work for them, not against them. And you can do the same thing. You can prime your brain every single day by asking better questions. Instead of, "Why does this always happen to me?" ask, "How can I use this?" Instead of, "What if I fail?" ask, "What if I succeed?" Instead of, "What's wrong?" ask, "What's great about this?" The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you consistently ask yourself. You have to decide right now that you will no longer be a prisoner of your old thought patterns, that you will no longer let your mind be a battleground of fear, doubt, and excuses, that from this moment forward you take full ownership of the one thing you have absolute control over: your focus. Because the mind is always listening. The question is, what are you telling it? Words shape our reality. Most people don't realize it, but the way they speak out loud and in their own heads is either moving them forward or holding them back. Your words aren't just descriptions of your life, they are prescriptions for your future. Change your words and you change the way you think. Change the way you think and you change the way you feel. Change the way you feel, and suddenly the actions that seemed impossible before become second nature. Look at anyone who has achieved extraordinary results, and you'll notice something. They don't just talk differently, they speak their vision into existence. They use language that reinforces their strength, their certainty, their ability to figure things out. But most people do the opposite. They use weak, disempowering language without even thinking about it. They say things like, "I'm terrible with names, I can't afford that, I'm not good at public speaking." And every time they say it, they reinforce that identity. The brain listens. It takes those words as commands. Language is a pattern, and patterns shape emotions. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two people experiencing the same situation. Let's say they just had a setback in their business. One person says, I'm devastated. The other person says, I'm a little frustrated. Same event, but radically different emotional states. Why? Because the language we use determines how we feel about what's happening. The word devastated triggers an entirely different physiological and emotional response than the word frustrated. One drains you, the other gives you room to adjust and move forward. The fastest way to change the way you feel is to change the words you use. I call it transforming your habitual vocabulary. Every single one of us has a set of words we use all the time to describe our emotions. Some people are constantly stressed or exhausted. Others are always excited or grateful. The words we default to create our emotional home, the place we live psychologically, no matter what's actually happening in our lives. If you want to change your emotions, change your words. If you feel overwhelmed, try saying you're in demand. If you're nervous, try saying you're energized. If you feel stuck, try saying you're strategizing your next move. It might feel strange at first, but language rewires the nervous system. The more you use empowering words, the more your brain aligns with that identity. And this doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. Your words have the power to elevate or destroy. A single phrase can inspire action, strengthen a relationship, or crush someone's confidence. The way you speak to your kids, your spouse, your employees, your team, it's either conditioning them to step up or shutting them down. Leaders, influencers, change makers, they understand this. They use their words as tools to lift people up, to drive progress, to build unshakable belief. You want to transform your life? Start with the language you allow in your mind and out of your mouth. Words are not just sounds. They are the commands you give your brain. Choose them wisely, because the conversation you're having, whether with yourself or with the world, is shaping your future right now. Money is one of the greatest tools you will ever have in life. And like any tool, if you don't know how to use it, it can become dangerous. Most people don't control their money. Money controls them. It dictates their emotions, their stress levels, their relationships, even their self-worth. But the truth is, money itself has no power. It's just paper, just numbers on a screen. The power comes from how you manage it, how you direct it, how you use it to create the life you want. Look around and you'll see that most people are stuck in a financial cycle they never consciously chose. They earn, they spend, they stress. They live paycheck to paycheck, not because they don't make enough, but because they've never been trained to control their financial destiny. They tell themselves the same story: I'm not good with money. And so they prove themselves right. They let money happen to them instead of happening to money. But here's the truth. Financial freedom is not about how much you earn. It's about how you manage what you have. I've met people making millions who are broke. I've met people making an average income who are completely free. The difference? One has mastered the game and the other is playing blind. If you don't tell your money where to go, you'll always wonder where it went. The first shift you need to make is to stop working for money and start making money work for you. That means understanding the two sides of wealth: offense and defense. Your offense is how you generate income. Your defense is how you manage and multiply that income. Too many people focus only on offense, chasing a bigger paycheck, getting the next promotion, starting the next business, while completely neglecting defense. They increase their income, but they also increase their spending. More money comes in, but just as fast, more money goes out. That's not wealth. That's a treadmill. True financial power comes when you master defense, when you learn to keep and grow your money. That means automating your savings and investments before you even touch your spending. It means understanding how compound interest works in your favor instead of against you. It means getting out of debt, not by hoping or wishing, but by having a plan, a real strategy that eliminates financial stress at its root. And here's the most important piece. Your financial future isn't determined by the economy, the government, or your circumstances. It's determined by your psychology. Wealth is a mindset first, a skill set second. If you believe money is scarce, that you'll never have enough, that wealth is only for the lucky, you will never attract abundance. But if you train your mind to see money as a game with rules you can learn, a game you can master, you'll start playing at a level most people never reach, because in the end, money is just energy. It amplifies who you already are. If you're insecure, more money will make you more insecure. If you're generous, more money will allow you to give at a whole new level. The question isn't whether you can make more money. The question is, who will you become when you do? Success is not a single event. It's not one big moment that changes everything. It's the result of the small things, your daily rituals, the habits you repeat every single day, because whether you realize it or not, you already have rituals. The question is, are those rituals empowering you or disempowering you? Are they setting you up for success or keeping you stuck? Most people live by habits they never consciously chose. They wake up and immediately check their phones, flooding their minds with distractions and negativity before the day even begins. They eat whatever is convenient, not realizing that their energy, their mood, and their performance are all being determined by what they put into their body. They let their emotions dictate their actions instead of using their actions to control their emotions. They live on autopilot, repeating the same behaviors, wondering why nothing changes. But the people who create extraordinary results in life, whether in business, health, relationships, or finances, have one thing in common. They don't leave their success to chance. They design their lives. They take control of their mornings. They prime their minds for confidence, clarity, and focus before they engage with the world. They condition their bodies for energy and strength because they know that physical movement changes mental state. They manage their emotions proactively, not reactively. They don't wait until they feel good to take action. They take action first, and that's what creates the feeling. Think about it. If you start your day by moving your body, focusing on what you're grateful for, and setting clear intentions, how different would your life be? If you trained yourself to use empowering language instead of disempowering words, how would your emotions shift? If you committed to financial discipline every single day, not just when it's convenient, where would you be in a year? The truth is, discipline is freedom. The more you train yourself to follow powerful rituals, the less you have to rely on willpower. Because willpower is weak, it fades, it fluctuates. But rituals run on autopilot. When something becomes part of your identity, this is just who I am, you don't have to think about it anymore. And listen, I'm not talking about making your life rigid or robotic. I'm talking about setting yourself up to win. A powerful life doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. The people who achieve greatness don't have more time than you. They don't have more luck. They have better habits. They set standards for themselves that most people don't. So ask yourself, what are the rituals you're committed to? What habits are shaping your future? Because whether you choose them or not, they're shaping you. And the good news is you can change them. Right now, one decision, one habit at a time, because your rituals create momentum. Momentum creates confidence. And confidence changes everything. Leadership is not a title. It's not a position. It's not something you're born with or something someone gives you. Leadership is influence. It's the ability to move people, to inspire action, to bring certainty where there is doubt. And whether you realize it or not, you are influencing people every single day. Your family, your coworkers, your friends, your community. The only question is, are you influencing them consciously with purpose? Or are you letting your emotions, your moods, and your fears dictate your impact? Influence starts with energy. The most powerful leaders don't just communicate with words, they communicate with their presence. When they walk into a room, you feel them before they even speak. Why? Because energy is contagious. If you show up uncertain, people around you will feel uncertain. If you show up with absolute confidence, absolute clarity, people will follow you, even if they don't fully understand why. That's because human beings are wired to respond to certainty. We're drawn to those who radiate strength, just as we're repelled by those who hesitate, doubt, or shrink. This is why mastering your mind and your words is so critical. If your internal world is chaotic, your external world will reflect that. If your language is weak, your influence will be weak. Leaders don't say, I think we should do this. They say, this is what we're going to do. Leaders don't ask, what if we fail? They ask, what if we succeed? They don't get stuck in problems. They drive solutions, because people don't follow uncertainty. They follow vision. They follow conviction. They follow those who know where they're going. And leadership isn't just about getting others to follow you. It's about bringing out the best in them. The best leaders don't just create results. They create leaders. They challenge people to grow. They set high standards, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. And they do it not through commands, but through example. Because people will forget what you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Think about the greatest influencers throughout history. They weren't just skilled at speaking. They were masters of state. They knew how to shift their emotions on command. Because you can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. You can't inspire confidence in others if you don't have it yourself. You can't demand excellence from others if you're not living it. This is why influence and leadership start long before you ever open your mouth. They start with the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you carry yourself. You ever notice how winners move differently? How people at the top of their game have a different posture, a different presence? That's not an accident. That's conditioning. That's mastery of state. If you want to become a person of influence, a person people look to for guidance, it starts with a decision to raise your standard, to train your mind, to own your energy, to take control of how you show up. Because whether you realize it or not, you are leading every single day. The only question is, are you leading with intention, or are you just showing up and hoping for the best? Your environment is shaping you every single day. The people you surround yourself with, the conversations you engage in, the content you consume, the habits you reinforce, these are the invisible forces directing your future. Most people don't realize it, but they are constantly being conditioned. They absorb the energy, beliefs, and standards of those around them without question. And if you're not consciously designing your environment, then your environment is designing you. Look around at your life right now. Who do you spend the most time with? What do you allow into your mind on a daily basis? Are the people around you pushing you to be better, to think bigger, to raise your standards? Or are they reinforcing your limitations, feeding your doubts, keeping you comfortable? Because make no mistake, proximity is power. You rise to the level of your environment. You take on the mindset, the expectations, and the emotional patterns of the people closest to you. Successful people don't leave this to chance. They curate their environment. They choose to surround themselves with people who challenge them, who inspire them, who demand more from them. They expose themselves to ideas, information, and conversations that expand their thinking. They protect their energy like their life depends on it, because it does. And this isn't just about people. Your physical environment matters too. The way you organize your space, the level of discipline in your daily routines, the clarity of your goals, all of it affects your mindset. If your environment is chaotic, your mind will be chaotic. If your space is cluttered, your thoughts will be cluttered. If you're constantly surrounded by distractions, negativity, or low standards, you will inevitably adapt to that level. So the question is, are you in an environment that nurtures your growth, or are you in an environment that keeps you stuck? Are you in a space that reinforces your highest self, or one that tempts you to settle for less? Because the truth is, you can have all the ambition, all the discipline, all the strategy in the world, but if you're in an environment that works against you, you're fighting an uphill battle. The good news is you have the power to change it. You can choose what you allow into your life. You can decide who has access to your time and energy. You can restructure your routines, your habits, your space to align with the person you're becoming. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You just have to decide that you will no longer tolerate anything that holds you back. Because at the end of the day, success isn't about willpower, it's about standards. If you want to create lasting change, raise the standard of what you allow into your life. Surround yourself with people who expect more from you. Build an environment that forces you to grow. Because when you control your environment, you control your future.